Hey, good day, folks, and welcome to another edition of Lumberjack Logic. I'm your host, Neil Johnson. So excited to be with you. So excited to share the news with you. Look, this is huge. So right now at SCOTUS, I better check and make sure I don't have this YouTube window open in the background, or I'll pay the price for that. No, I do not. So, all right. So I'm so happy I didn't have it. I like to keep it open, but for some reason that always causes me trouble. So those of you know, please do smash that like, chat in with where you're from. But here's the scoop, people. This is literally, I think it's the biggest case. I'm curious to get your thoughts as we go through this, but I think this is the biggest issue the court has to decide before the 2024 election, outside of Mike Lindell's case, which they have not docketed as of yet. So this one is before them today. Today, this case is there, and this is involving an injunction. This is the Missouri versus Biden lawsuit. So thanks so much for chatting in. I see on Michelle and Eric 25/6 from Pennsylvania. I see Susan on. I see James on. I see Mama Carol on. So many of you. So thanks for joining me. But if I ask the question, yes or no, how many of you know what I'm talking about when I talk about Missouri versus Biden? I don't want to have to go back and give a long dissertation on this, but basically, it is the case that was launched by the attorney generals of Missouri and Louisiana against the Biden administration for their collusion with big tech companies to censor everything in terms of COVID, elections, everything. And what's interesting about this case, and I've followed this along throughout time, there are oral arguments before the Supreme Court this morning regarding the injunction that the judge approved that then had a stay issued against it and so on. And we'll get right into that. So a lot of you don't know what this case is. Look, this is the most important case right now in the land. See, if your voice didn't mean something, if your voice wasn't powerful, if your speech, if your ability to sway and change hearts and minds didn't mean something, people, this case would not be being tried. They would not be working so hard to shut us down. And the beautiful thing is you guys all saw the bloodbath comments with Donald Trump, right? So this is... the thing with the whole bloodbath comments, the only reason that has become so big amongst people amongst the right is because we have platforms with which we can now share this on. Okay. If we did not have that, you guys wouldn't be hearing about this other than Donald Trump's comments about a bloodbath. So, in fact, here, I'm going to share this. Going into this, I'm going to share the Donald Trump speech on bloodbath and why this is so important. And then we're going to get right into the Missouri versus Biden case, what's before the Supreme Court this morning, and just how big this issue is. Again, please smash that like, and please check out my sponsor, Midas Gold. That's MidasGoldGroup.com, or call 480-360-3000. You can also text Lumberjack to 232-425 and receive free silver. That's right, free silver with a qualifying order. So you got to order something. It's not like just call in and get free silver, but it definitely helps out to get a little extra. It's where I get all my gold and silver. James and the folks over there, they're all veteran owners, not commissioned salespeople. I believe if you're going to protect your assets from a rogue federal government, you have to have some of this stuff. But here, in fact, this is the White House communications director going on Jen Psaki with Jen Psaki on MSNBC, and this is what he said about this bloodbath.
Heard was a continuation of the same rhetoric, the same endorsement of political violence that we've seen from Donald Trump for years, as you pointed out. It goes even farther back, right? This is the same guy who, after Nazis marched on Charlottesville and killed a woman, said there were very fine people on both sides.
So you guys know about that whole fine people on both sides comment was all a lie. He's still running that same lie. And then he's trying to utilize this bloodbath comment. And just to put this in perspective, I'm going to get into Missouri versus Biden and the big deal at the Supreme Court. But you need to understand the censorship is what they're after because of things like this. So now watch this. Here's Donald Trump, and here's exactly what he said.
Now is building a couple of massive plants where they're going to build the cars in Mexico and they think that they're going to sell those cars into the United States with no tax at the border. Let me tell you something to China. If you're listening, President Xi, and you and I are friends, but he understands the way I deal, those big monster car manufacturing plants that you're building in Mexico right now, and you think you're going to get that, you're going to not hire Americans, and you're going to sell the cars to us now, we're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole, that's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. But they're not going to sell those cars. They're building massive factories. A friend of mine, all he does is build car manufacturing plants. He's the biggest in the world. I mean, honestly, I joke about it. He can't walk across the street. In that way, he's like Biden. But for building a plant, he can do the greatest plants in the world, right? That's all he cares about. I said, I'd like to see one of your plants recently. I said, I'd like to see, where can we go? Well, we have to travel to Mexico. I said, why Mexico? He said, because that's where the big plants are building. China's building really big plants in Mexico, and Mexico's building. What about here? Well, we're building much smaller plants here. Can you believe it?
But as Politico.com reports tonight on the, quote, bloodbath.
Now, this next piece, Tom Elliott, a great follow on X. By the way, my X handle is in the description, my Twitter handle. Go over there. I see a lot of people say, oh, I got kicked off Twitter before. Start a new account. I mean, seriously, a lot of people have done it. Okay. But bloodbath at RNC, Team Trump slashes staff at committee. Okay. So this is a clip put together by Tom Elliott, who is Grabian, and this is, I'm going to have to stop it short because there's some music in here, and then I'll get copyright infringement and all that garbage. But I want you to just watch the first little bit of this, and you can see how often the media has used bloodbath in talking about Trump.
At the RNC.
Headlines calling it a, quote, bloodbath.
Be a bloodbath. Not only is it going to be a bloodbath, but after they leave New Hampshire, it's a bloodbath on her home turf. That's really tough. Trump has left a lot of corpses in his wake. I mean, we can count the bodies as part of the...
See, it's just on and on. This goes on for a couple minutes. I reposted this on my X. Like I said, because there's music in the background, I can't play it all or I'll get a copyright infringement. But it is nonstop. Here.
We're down 800 points.
This bloodbath at Department of Homeland Security.
And it's a bloodbath today.
They love the word. And then they're so disingenuous and then acting like Trump using it is the biggest thing that they've ever seen go nuts. Now, and somebody, so I don't know how everybody else is doing it, Norweaver. I don't know how everybody else is doing it. So, because I know people who've had 14 accounts over there. But anyways, my handle is down below if you want to follow me over on X. And Elon Musk has actually done a great service. He actually came out hard against that bloodbath comment and took Joe Scarborough from MSNBC down. It was beautiful. So now I want to add this in. This is the case that's before the Supreme Court and what's being decided this morning. No, not that. Where is it here? Right here. I got to get that switched. Okay. And there you go. So here it is. This one, I've got a video here with, I picked this story because they've got an older video here just to bring you all up to speed. But Supreme Court to hear key arguments in First Amendment case challenging Biden admin teamwork with big tech. So this is, let's get this going.
All the way to the Supreme Court. Let's bring in Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey. He co-filed the original lawsuit against the Biden administration, clearly because you, sir, saw this as an infringement on First Amendment rights. So what do you think happens here?
Well, these are the worst First Amendment violations in this nation's history, and they can be leveled right at President Biden across the White House and across the spectrum of federal bureaucratic agencies. And we're not going to let the White House or any other federal entity destroy free speech in America. That's what this lawsuit's all about. We've uncovered a vast censorship enterprise, a relationship of coercion and collusion between federal officials and big tech social media to silence American voices. It was illegal. They only silenced conservative voices. And everything they suppressed that we've uncovered in our lawsuit thus far also happened to be true. And so that's why this court order of July 4th was so important to preserve the legacy of freedom enshrined in the First Amendment.
Okay, so the Biden administration is arguing that this injunction hurts national security to the point that they're saying the plaintiff's proposed injunction would significantly hinder the federal government's ability to combat foreign malign influence campaigns, prosecute crimes, protect the national security, provide accurate information to the public on matters of grave public concern, such as healthcare and election integrity. Do you share in any of those concerns about the ability for law enforcement officials to do their jobs?
No, it's ironic that the very people who claim to be protecting us from misinformation are spreading misinformation about what this court order does. All the court order does is say the federal government can't censor core political speech. The federal government can't coordinate to censor protected speech. They can't violate the Constitution. That's what this is all about. And so their notice of appeal is really an intent to continue violating the right to free speech. And that's
Oh, it hung up here. Hold on a sec.
the court struck it down yesterday. And I'll also point out that the court opined that the Department of Justice failed to put on any evidence or make any argument that any lawful behavior was inhibited or curtailed by this court order that was handed down on July 4th.
Very interesting. Do you think it makes its way to the Supreme Court?
I think it absolutely ends up in the Supreme Court. This is the most important First Amendment case in a generation. You know, in a recent opinion, Justice Gorsuch handed down in Arizona v. Mayorkas, he opined that it was likely that the federal government had coordinated with big tech to suppress Americans' voices during the pandemic. And so certainly the court sees this one coming, and we'll continue to fight the fight to protect, the constitutional rights of Americans to free speech from infringement by Biden and his federal bureaucrats.
Really interesting. While I have you here, your state, sir, has been one of the states pushing back against these medical gender trans.
Okay, so I'll let him finish too. We'll go back to that. But this is actually, you have to understand, this was from last year, this particular interview, but it's addressing this case, which is the Missouri v. Biden. So it's the attorney generals of Missouri and Louisiana taking on the Biden administration, the censorship industrial complex in court. But what happened was, in fact, I'll go to the article. Judge Doherty is how I pronounce his name. I don't know if I'm getting that right. But he had issued an injunction so that the government could not coordinate. Then the Biden administration got upset. And what's so funny, and what Bailey had addressed there, is these people are whining about this when the very information they censored turned out to be true. So the Supreme Court on Monday will hear arguments challenging this today, obviously, the Biden administration's alleged coordination with big tech to censor certain messages. It's not even alleged, people. In a case that one side says could impact the discourse around the 2024 election, the 9 justices will decide if a temporary ban on the Biden administration limiting their communication with social media companies should take place while the merits of the case are litigated in the lower courts. It absolutely should take case, and I believe we're going to get a positive ruling on this. I could be wrong, but let's see. The case stems from a lawsuit brought by state attorney generals from Missouri and Louisiana that accused high-ranking government officials of working with giant social media companies under the guise of combating misinformation that ultimately led to censoring speech on topics that included the laptop, the COVID-19, and the efficacy of face masks. Okay, so all this information has proven to be true. The censored information had proven to be true, people. So obviously, we should have a point where these people are, this should not be going on, okay? This affected the outcome of the last election in and of itself. Like, if there was nothing else going on, this would have affected it, because it actually swung the vote about 3%. In fact, had this story on the Biden laptop come out, Joe Biden wouldn't have been able to even pull off a popular vote win. Okay? That's how bad this censorship is. That's why this is so important. Okay? So, as we go forward with this, just understand that. All right? And they did work with big tech people. Look, I did a stream last January, not a stream, I did a video about SCOTUS and the Biden administration and this whole case. We went through and read, and some of you who followed my channel for a while know, and we read through the emails and Facebook and Instagram. These people were communicating with the Biden White House, and actually it was the government pressuring Facebook and Instagram. Okay, and then YouTube as well was indicted in that, or included in that, where they said that basically they were able to suppress misinformation by 70% on the jab. Okay. So that was one of the things that earned me a strike. You guys will remember that as well. Andrew Bailey's, okay, so the Justice Department has argued that the temporary ban will cause irreparable harm because it may prevent the federal government from working with social media companies on initiatives to prevent grave harm to the American people and our democratic processes. That's right. To them, it is grave harm because just understand, again, Hunter Biden laptop, 3% people, 3% swing of the vote. I swear I tell you, this is the most important case right now before the Supreme Court, okay? Lindell's got his case coming up, but that's not even docketed yet. He filed that. So I think it is absolutely critical that the injunction be affirmed as we move into this election cycle in order to continue to build the wall of separation between tech and state in order to protect our election and integrity as part of our First Amendment right to free speech. That was from Andrew Bailey, who we listened to. In other words, if you look at the speech that was suppressed, it was exclusively conservative speech. There were no liberals getting censored. Okay? None. This is the problem with the deep state apparatus that sits there, and this is why Trump needs to take an axe, cause a bloodbath in the federal agencies. How about that? I'll use that term. He needs to cause a bloodbath in the federal agencies. Heads are going to roll. Oh my gosh, what's he saying? Having the injunction in place ensures that there's a free, fair, and open marketplace of ideas, that the federal government isn't discriminating against one viewpoint in order to rig the election, he said. So Terry Doughty, it's not Doherty, it's Doughty, thank you, imposed the temporary injunction preventing White House and executive agency officials from meeting with tech companies about moderating content. Okay, these were likely First Amendment violations. During the COVID-19 pandemic, a period perhaps best characterized by widespread doubt and uncertainty, the United States government seems to have assumed a role similar to an Orwellian ministry of truth. Doughty, the judge, this guy, I mean, you read from his decisions, he is the most fair and awake judge there is. If the allegations made by plaintiffs are true, the present case arguably involves the most massive attack against free speech in the United States history, the injunction said. In their attempts to suppress alleged disinformation, the federal government, and particularly the defendants named here, are alleged to have blatantly ignored the First Amendment's rights to free speech. The worst is it's not just misinformation, people. These are outright blatant lies. Okay, that's what this is. So let me take you now, since I'm talking about the fact that these are outright blatant lies. I'm going to stop the screen share. I'm going to then present another screen share and show you what I'm talking about here. I'm working with my daughter. I may have a producer yet, folks. We may not have to go through these slow screen swaps and whatnot. Right here. Okay. So this is that character we just heard from. But look at this. Going back to this bloodbath comment. Trump now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath. All these liberal accounts on X were posting this, okay? Okay? DOJ, what the F do you call this? F this traitor. Mark Elias, this guy. The next wave of Republican attacks on our election is coming. In fact, it may already have begun. We know it will be ruthless and shameless. Trump is admitting it will also be violent. That's from Mark Elias, the ultimate lying lawyer. Okay, and again, just all over. Here, look at this guy. Luke Beasley. My name is Luke Beasley. I'm a young progressive activist working to expose Donald Trump and his lies. We're going to win this. Okay, here he is. Donald Trump, if I don't get elected, it will be a bloodbath. President Biden, you can't love your country only when you win. So again, it's just a constant set of lies. This is where you get the information too on E. Jean Carroll. Okay. The statute of limitations for sexual assault in New York is typically 5 to 7 years. New York even has a 20-year period for civil claims of sexual assault. But that wasn't enough to get Trump. Jean Carroll's claims go back to the mid-90s. So New York amended the law in 2022 to provide unlimited statute of limitations for civil claims of sexual assault and provided a 1-year window where pre-existing claims could be litigated. That's where Jean Carroll comes in. Funded by a Democrat activist, she filed her claim against Trump in that limited window, and even a liberal New York jury wouldn't find Trump liable for rape. Okay. Now this, and people say, well, yeah, but you would know if you were following the bills in the state legislature and blah, blah, blah. People don't. This is why media, that's why you guys listen to me, as to like, I go through and I filter all this news and I try and bring you what I think is important. Okay. But again, this is what they're doing right now. If we did not have the ability to combat this misinformation about this bloodbath, we wouldn't be getting anywhere. So this is the Drudge Report. Remember, the Drudge Report used to be something. Trump warns bloodbath if he's not elected. Okay. And one of the things that liberals have been very good at doing, this is why Elon Musk's takeover of Twitter was such a big deal. I don't think people fully understand. Somebody super chatted me $5 here. Hal Coker, what a ridiculous and obvious witch hunt. Trump 2024. Thank you, Hal. The thing with this is that is Elon Musk taking over Twitter. It became such a big deal because the left is long, like Drudge Report. Look at Fox News and so on. They long take over, conservative entities. This is the first time a liberal entity of major import, like, Twitter, which is now X, was taken over. And here's the thing, because they always used to say, oh, well, just go start your own. Oh, well, like what? Gab and Truth and all these others that have started, none of them have the reach of X, because everybody already has their followers on Twitter or X, okay? The followers were already there, so people don't go through and just switch everything. It's like, well, just start another YouTube. Oh, how effective has that been? Okay? We need to actually make sure that the government is not colluding with these companies. I mean, that's the deal. Thank you so much for that. And if we don't take over these larger platforms, and if we don't hold these larger platforms to account, the message will not spread, people. It just won't. And I've got all these other accounts, but the speed and pace of the news coming out does not follow these other accounts as well. As it just doesn't. And you can't get your message out to as many people. And it's kind of a conundrum, because you don't like these other platforms. I mean, I get it, but yet we're trying to affect outcomes. We're trying to get the message to the masses. So it's very, very crucial that we do that. Let me see here. I want to bring up here. I'm going to give you guys some good news. Shea, the founder, lives a TikTok lady, had shared this, over the whole bloodbath comments. Just understand this. This is vitally important. Political. Over 500 journalists were laid off in 2024 alone. The job losses come after an already bleak year in the news business. Why? Because you guys are watching programs like mine. Okay. Breathtaking media layoffs continue with job cuts at Now This and The Intercept. Okay. 50% staff laid off. Okay. This is how we win. Okay. She had shared this, lives at TikTok, after watching the bloodbath hoax. These headlines should make you very happy. The media is truly the enemy of the people. Pre-Elon days, they would have just asked their friends at Twitter to ban accounts telling the truth. They no longer have that power. Independent journalism on X is now the future. The truth can now prevail. Elon Musk has done tremendous service for this country. He has. Okay. So and it's even getting, community noted. Trump says there'll be a bloodbath. Donald Trump was talking about the automobile and manufacturing industry, potential economic turmoil, not political violence. So again, this is why this case is so vitally important. I got a $10 super chat from Victoria Greenfield here. I want to just cover that. Hi, Neil. I'm from Nebraska. Glad I found your channel. I'm glad you found my channel too, Victoria. I've learned a lot, and it's good to have a positive person. Thanks. Don't think I don't get a little down sometimes. It can be easy to get depressed with the news, but you point out the good. Thank you. I try, Victoria, but there is plenty to be concerned about. I want to make sure everybody knows that. I mean, you are going to have to literally drag everybody you can to the polls this year. Any of these people who say, oh, what good is it? Don't vote and all that. Just ignore them. Like, what a bunch of freaking morons. Okay. I mean, if you're going to just give it up, well, then they have won. Okay. So you're going to have to drag everyone you can. You're going to have to do the work. You're going to have to make sure that they, these people who are infrequent voters who would vote for Trump get out and vote. Otherwise, their ballots might be filled in differently. If you catch my meaning, if you understand what they did to create the paper trail, okay, that just is what happened. You've got to get involved in local election apparatus. You got to, work your social media a little, but I would encourage you to do more in terms of just talking to people one-on-one. That's where you're going to see your biggest impact. So this is my whole comment is lit up with the FJP, or the Let's Go Brandon. But yeah, there's plenty to be concerned about. I don't want you to think there isn't. I think we are going to get a positive ruling on this injunction today. And that's going to make a big difference in the upcoming election, because if they can't collude with the big tech platforms to suppress conservative viewpoints, they cannot win in a meritocracy. A meritocracy is simply where the best ideas rise to the top. They cannot win in that environment. That's why they work so hard to censor. And it's worked. You need to understand that. It has worked up till now. Okay. Look, I don't think that YouTube has suddenly become good guys. I mean, don't think that this is going to go on forever where, I've almost been wiped off this platform twice. Those of you who follow the channel know that. I stopped producing content on a couple different occasions. Okay. If we don't, that's just what it is. It'll probably get worse before the election. Sending good vibes out to you and All America First Patriots. Show pics of your moo-moos, Neil. The cows. I don't have any pictures, just handy. But if you want to see my cows, they're over on my Neil of the North channel. I'll drop a link. There's a recent deer hunt over there as well. So if you like that kind of stuff, I will. If I had a picture of the cow sitting here on my desktop, I'll look for you real quick. I don't. Here, you want to see something really cool though? I'll show you guys something cool. And this actually, so we go to the Boundary Waters every year, and I think there's a little bit of Boundary Waters over there. There's one of me catching a walleye on there with my kid running the camera. It's absolutely hilarious. But here, I'll show you like a great. Here you go. You want to feel good? There you go. That's a big one right there. It's just a monster. But if you haven't ever been to the Boundary Waters in northern Minnesota, it's the waters between Minnesota and Canada. It's worth going. I encourage you to get out there. And oh my word, West Virginia Woman Marine, thank you so much. That's huge. That's a huge super chat. Thanks. Give her a hand clap. West Virginia Woman Marine. That's big. Thanks. It's one of my favorite pictures of all time right there. That's a fish. Here, let's see if I got something else for you guys. Oh, here. Did you guys this is I think this one's from the Boundary Waters. Let me just double check. Right at the edge of it. I can't say it's from the Boundary Waters because that would be bad, right? Here, guys, so you want to check out something cool. So for those who don't know, I do this got to be on the desktop, and I've worked in video production. Here, check this out. Look at the lakes up here in northern Minnesota. It's absolutely beautiful. This is something you guys, if you haven't ever gone fishing up there, Superior National Forest, that whole area, it's worth doing. So it's just gorgeous. We got great rock structure, great fish. So here, let me see. I might be able to find one other for you here. That would be really cool. I don't know. You guys can tell me if you don't want to see this stuff or not. What's this one? Oh yeah, this is right off my property. Check this one out. That's IMG 0719. All right. This is just present IMG 0719. I'll get it for you here. Here's some deer on my property. off my driveway. There, you take off. Little one took off first. Mama left. You see. So that's well, there's my son's big fish again. So that's here. I'll show you guys. I don't know if you guys ever saw this. You guys saw Mike Lindell on my stream last week. Yeah, check out Midas Gold Group too. But I'm going to share something here. Where is it? Let's see. Present video file. It's just why I need a producer. But we're just goofing off right now. So here we go. This is my commercial I did for Mike Lindell.
So we're out here hunting elk, and I'm telling you, it's grueling. I mean, up the mountain, down the mountain, up the mountain, down the mountain, isn't it, boys? It's rough, man.
Had my boys.
And you're looking for some energy, but you're also looking for a little comfort. Oh, my coffee. This stuff is the best coffee I've ever had. I didn't even know the guy. I didn't even know Mike Lindell had a coffee thing. And then all of a sudden he had it and I tried it. Now I can't leave home without it. It's like my MyPillow. So go to mystore.com or mypillow.com. Use promo code Lumberjack to get pillows or coffee. This stuff is the best.
And you guys all heard about Dan Bongino losing his mom. Very sad. Here, I'll show you. This is a picture of, I'll show you one more. Stop screen. And then I'm going to present. Well, here, I got to open this up. I lost my mom just the other year, too. But my mom didn't fall down the stairs. She actually died from cancer. So it was rough. Somebody super chatted. I'll throw that up there quick. Present, share screen. This is a picture of my mom from back in the day. So, yeah, I lost her not this past summer, but the summer before. Seems we were down this road before with Mike Allen filing lawsuits. Nobody's in legal standing. How's this any different? Well, it's different. So he has the case is good, and now the harm has been done. And we also have new evidence in this case. So again, we don't want to, I guess, sell hopium, if you want to call it that. But, there is the flip side of that, which is selling despair. And that's not going to help us out either. So anyways, there's my mom. So, but we're all, hopefully it just happens in the right order, right? You lose your parents instead of your kids. So we kind of went a little sideways here at the end of the stream, but the court case, people, if you just jumped on, go back and check out the beginning, because this is huge. It's huge. It's so big. This is the type of story that needs to be spread. Anyways, I thank you so much for joining me this morning on this live stream, and we'll see you on the next episode. All right. Peace out.